Hello and welcome to another Let's Play of Eldfall Chronicle. This time I will be playing the Empire of Soga against the Sand Kingdoms in an open hostile mission. And as you can see, these two are the exact same parties that I used for the 2 attempts at the Heart of Obsidian campaign. So if you haven't watched these, you will get a little bit more familiar with these two parties. But just to give a brief overview, for the Empire of Soga we have 2 Bushi attendants, we have an Kitsune Spellman, and we have the leader, the Musha Blade Master, with the Buyutsu expertise and the Kyutsu expertise, bringing his archery up to 2 and his fencing up to 4. What this does mean I will explain in a short while. For the Sand Kingdoms we have the Academy Expeditionary with the Elemental Lineage upgrade to give him the affinity fire. In the Heart of Obsidian campaign we didn't saw a lot of this affinity, but this will surely change in this game. Then we have the Taskmaster Explorer as the leader for the Sand Kingdoms. She has the first aid kit. And finally the Pharaoh's Outrider, who also has the Elemental Lineage upgrade, also with the Affinity of Fire. But since I only have 1 card, I just put it up at the Academy Expeditioner, just as a reminder that the Pharaoh's Outrider also has the Elemental Affinity of Fire to give his Art of Enchanting a little bit more possibilities and options. So, as I already teased, what does the 11 and the 3 and the 8 mean? These are the roles for the schemes, since I do not own a scheming deck. So therefore, the Musha Blade Master rolled the scheme Headhunter for his party. This means that the Empire of Soga will get a +1 victory point for every death blow they get this mission. The Taskmaster Explorer rolled a 3 and an 18. 3 is Virtuous Command, which gives +1 victory point to a maximum of +3 at the end of the game for every model that is neither incapacitated nor dead. And the 18 is the Sand Kingdom special scheme Strength in Number, which gives 2 victory points if you have more models alive than the opposition at the end of the game. And since the Taskmaster Explorer's sole job in this mission is basically to keep her party members and herself alive, I think I will go with the Virtuous Commander scheme this time for the chance to get 3 victory points at the end. And yeah, the Empire of Soga, is basically out for blood. So, with the scheme set on Headhunter and Virtuous Commander, I think it is time to make an initiative roll, and before I do that I will just have a quick read up on it, and then I will join you when I did that. So for the initiative we will have a quick look at the respective leader's moral score. So for the Musha Blade Master it will be a 17, and for the Taskmaster Explorer for the Sand Kingdoms it will be 12. Therefore, we will now roll a die and add the respective moral score, and the winner may decide whether they will choose one of the edges as their deployment zone, and the other player will deploy at the other edge. And also, they may decide if the parties are deployed all models at once, or if they deploy interchangeable, so for example, 1 model for the Sand Kingdoms, 1 model for the Empire of Soga, and continue on until all models are deployed. Or they may decide who is player number 1, and therefore starts with the deployment, and also who will begin with the game. So with this, let's see. Beginning for the Empire of Soga, 1d20 plus 17, it's a 29. Therefore, the Taskmaster Explorer for the Sand Kingdoms, it's a roll of 17 plus the moral of 12 is also 29. Therefore, we have a tie and just re-roll it. Empire of Soga, 5 plus 17, we are at 22. And the Taskmaster Explorer at 10 plus 12, we are once again at 22. Since this represents the leaders outwitting the other, this is quite a match. So a 7 plus 17 for the Empire of Soga, 24. And an 18 plus a 12, we are at a 30. And finally a winner for the Sand Kingdoms. So now let's see. What do the Sand Kingdoms want to do? Do they want to decide who's player 1? Or do they want to decide where and how the parties and factions will deploy? I think for this, the Sand Kingdoms will decide who is player number 1 and leave the other decision for the Empire of Soga. So, with this, the Empire of Soga is allowed to choose which table edge they want to deploy from. And I think the Empire of Soga will decide that this table edge is their deployment zone. Therefore, the Sand Kingdoms will start at the opposing edge, and the Empire of Soga decides that there will be an interchangeable deployment, so the Empire of Soga so one model at a time. With this, the Sand Kingdoms decide that they will be the second player. Therefore, the Empire of Soga has to begin deploying with their first model, and this will be a deployment zone of 8 inches. Let me just grab the 2 rulers to check. It will be not completely, but close enough. The Empire of Soga will deploy the first model here. Coming back to the Sand Kingdoms, let's see where they will deploy and especially which model will be their first. I think their first model will be the Pharaoh's Outrider, simply because he has the stealth ability. And he's also quite resilient, but he will deploy in such a way that he will be difficult to see, at least for the Empire of Soga. Next, the Empire of Soga will continue with their sheep cannon fodder, you could say. So let me just check. 2 inches are here. Excuse me. Another 6 is around here. Therefore, the second cheap Bushi attendant, before more valuable models get deployed, gets here. Now let's see where the Sand Kingdoms, they have not a lot of cover to work with from this side, I just realized. So here 8 inches is enough. Therefore, they will deploy the heavy artillery in form of the Academy Expeditionary here. Looking at the table so far. Now, the Empire of Soga will deploy their Musha Blade Master, their leader, right here, just for him to be able to rush through the window of the ruin. And now for the final model of the Sand Kingdoms. I think this will be quite easy. Back here, able to go either direction to support whoever needs it more. And in a similar fashion, the Kitsune Spellmain will deploy, but she will deploy closer to the Musha Blade Master, where her Burning Resolve is most likely to be used. So with this, let me just prepare the first turn for the Empire of Soga. With all strategy points allocated, I will jump back to the strategic phase, because strategy points are allocated after the strategy phase. So to do it correctly, all warriors, so the Bushi attendants and the Musha Blade Master, decide to go into a defense stance, because currently only this Bushi attendant is able to see through the window the Pharaoh's Outrider, and they prepare by doing this for the active phase of the Empire of Soga. And with this, I will start with this Bushi attendant, who will just go right onto the window to get a better line of sight and be able to see through the window. This Bushi will wait, but here the Musha Blade Master, he will actually move 2 inches to the side, then 3 inches, 2 inches to the side, and as I just said 3 inches, it will be around here where the corner is, 3 inches here, still no enemy in line of sight, therefore he will continue his repositioning and jumping over the wall to get into a hopefully better position to lay reactive fire. So with this, I think this Bushi attendant will attempt something similar. Actually no, because of the Academy Expeditioner, he will just go towards this position. And let me just double check. From his position now, he is unable to see the Ferret Otter. I will not count the sword. He just moved outside of line of sight, yet now the wall is in the way. And the other Bushi attendant is also unable to see the Ferret Otter. Lucky positioning for him. So, with this, the Kitsune Spellmate will try to get into also a better position to support her allies. 2 inches she can go here, and now 4 inches to move here, and she will use the run action to go 2 inches there and 2 inches here, and now 4 inches, 3 inches here, and a little bit more into cover. So just double checking. As you can see, I allow myself to measure the distance because I think this is actually more fun to have a realistic view. Okay, so she's basically around 12 inches away from the Musha Blade Master, but that is okay. So basically a little bit of redeploying and also going into defense stance. Give me a quick overlook about the board. Is the Kitsune Spellman happy where she is? She can react because she can see. On the other hand, what can she do? She has no healing, she has no efficient defense, so she will spend her second activation token to get into cover. So with this, the Sand Kingdoms was unable to react because they had no line of sight, which was intentionally because of the deployment. And now let me prepare the Sand Kingdoms, yes, that's correct, turn, and I will catch you up. So after having done some measurement for the Sand Kingdoms, the Ferret Otter will cast the Arcane Shield spell onto himself to get an armor of 5, and being immune to critical hits is also nice. And as you can see here, I did some measurement, as I said previously. 1 inch is here, up to 4 inches is here, and then 16 inches is all the way up to here. So basically what I want to do is activate him, move him up to where the die is, spending his 5 inches of movement and putting away 1 activation token. Now he wants to cast a fireball, but not at any target to avoid the penalty for the heavy cover, but right in front of this ruin. So the Bushi attendant will nevertheless activate. He wants to attack the Academy Expeditioner, and since they are not attacking each other, the Academy Expeditioner is basically attacking the area, so there will be no confrontation. But the Bushi attendant still gets 2 attacks, needing a 12 or less to hit. A 15 and a 1. The 1 is great because this is a critical hit, therefore he will ignore the armor of 4. of the Academy Expeditioner, and now he needs 13 or less to wound. With a 3, the Bushi attendant was able to draw first blood by wounding the Academy Expeditioner. Now the Academy Expeditioner tries to cast the Fireball, 14 or less, and this is also a 1. Therefore the Fireball goes off. And with this, the Kitsune Spellmain will be also hit because he will place the Fireball here, right in front. Both of the models will be under the template. The Kitsune Spellmain has no line of sight. Therefore, normally she should have sighted previously, but I will still allow it. She will use the dodge action, and normally if you react without line of sight, you can only do that within your awareness. Right? Now that I'm talking about it, you can only react if the active model is within your awareness, which is not the case. Therefore, the Kitsune Spellmain... Actually, let me double check. She has an agility of 14, and she has the acute sense ability, which increases her awareness to 17. Since this is about 16 inches, this could be. Let me just check. This is about 6, this is about 12. She actually is, I will say, within 15 inches, 17 inches here. Let me just show it to you here. She is. Therefore, she is able to react and use a dodge action thanks to her acute sense ability, which not only gives her plus 3 inches to her awareness, but also allows her to make an unmodified agility check when she has no line of sight for her dodge. So, checking again, she has an agility of 14. Therefore, she needs a 14 or less to avoid this Fireball. With a natural 1, rolling good, my dear, she avoids the Fireball, is able to retreat a little bit. Actually, she's able to retreat 3 inches. Yep, that was a good guess. The Bushi attendant, since the Academy Expeditioner rolled a natural 1, will be not so lucky. The Fireball will ignore his armor. The Fireball has a power equal to the intelligence, therefore 14 or less. With a 16, he's lucky and avoids the flame. Otherwise, he would have also been hit with the burn quality. So, this was the first turn of the Academy Expeditioner. Then, let's continue on. And I think for the next activation of the Empire of Soga, I will use the Ferris Outrider. Simply because the Ferris Outrider has a skill that is called Taunt. And when this model performs a movement, it may force enemy models within line of sight to this model, or within whose awareness this model enters, to perform an intelligence roll. Every model that fails the roll needs to declare a reaction. So it is quite a gamble, because I will try with him to draw attacks from him and from him. So he will spend his activation token to use a run action. So, or a special move. We have 5 up to here. And we have another 5 getting just partially behind the 10 to get a little bit of soft cover, therefore imposing a -2 penalty and using his taunt talent. This Bushi attendant and this Bushi attendant both must roll an intelligence check, and just having a look at their stat card, it's an intelligence of 10. Therefore, the first Bushi attendant who already wounded the Academy Expeditioner, 10 or less to be fine. With an 11, he has to attack. Now the other Bushi attendant, with a 3, he is fine, he can choose. Therefore, he has to react, sorry, not attack. But since this is an opportunity, this Bushi attendant will also react, and this one must react. This one will use an attack action against the Ferris Outrider, who is not in cover from this point of view, but let me, as I said, I just wanted him to be in cover, so let me redeploy. Yeah, Now he's in cover. And from this bushy attendant, there's another tent in the way. So, both bushy attendants will attack. Let's start with this one, who will actually he will, even if the path of movement would be here, this would have been in cover. So basically from right behind the wall, right here, there would be always cover. And here also in a similar fashion. Therefore, this bushy attendant starts. He needs a 12 or less to hit. 15 and 12. Actually, sorry, -2 because of the 10s. It's a 10 or less, so he also misses with a 12. The other bushy attendant needs a 10 or less. 19 and 15 both miss. So with the taunt ability, he was able to steal this bushy attendant's other activation. And now let me just see. Looking through the window, no. The Kitsune Spellmaiden still has no line of sight to the Academy Expeditioner. And this bushy attendant also does not see the Academy Expeditioner. So, with this, just double checking. No, I don't think that the Musha Blade Master right here. Going a little bit further down. Yeah, there is the wall. So, the Academy Expeditioner has a great position here to cast another fireball. And this time he will choose the Musha Blade the bushy attendant as his actual target. Just let me grab the template to get the Kitsune Spellmaiden, who is now outside of the 17 inches of her awareness within it. So this time she's unable to react actually. So the Academy Expeditioner needing a 14 or less rolls a 19. Since he didn't use it so far, he uses his sorcery class to reroll this die. It's a 5, therefore it's a hit. The bushy attendant is unable to react, and the Kitsune is also unable to react because he's outside of her awareness of 17, and she has no line of sight. So both models are hit. Now the fireball has, as I stated earlier, has a power equal to 14 because that's the intellect score. So the bushy attendant has an armor of 4, therefore needing a 10 or less to wound the bushy. It's a 4. So with this, the bushy attendant loses 1 wound, but fireball has the burn quality, which means since he got wounded by this attack, he receives another attack with another automatic hit with the ignore armor properties. Therefore, a 14 or less and the bushy attendant is out of game. It's a 15. He got seriously burned but survived. Now, the Kitsune Spellmaiden. She does not have any armor, therefore it's only a 14 or less. It's a 14, it's enough to wound the Kitsune Spellmaiden. And now, let me, with this, the Kitsune is also incapacitated. And let me just have a quick check in the rules. Because, as I mentioned earlier, the spell has the burn quality, and I think that was too much. I think that the burn quality, these are the classes, has the additional effect if a model gets incapacitated by burn, that the model will also be automatically dead and removed from the game. So burn. Here we can see it's the it's the last sentence. Only if the burn wound. Every successful dodge roll causes damage roll causes the model to suffer a wound. If this wound would cause a model to become the dead state, the model is removed from the field. And previously, when a model suffers a wound from this trait, the attacked player may perform an X amount, in this case 1, of damage rolls with armor value 0. So, she is incapacitated, and now the burn damage to see if she is dead. With an 11, she is actually dead. So this was a serious, heavy start for the Empire of Soga. And they are still not done, because I forgot to move the activation, still remaining activation point for the Pharaoh's Outrider. And also because the Task Match Explorer is still able to activate. And what will I do? First of all, I will activate the Task Match. Since no one of these is able to see or react to, and therefore to react to her, she will use a move action or walk action to go here. And with this, I think, let me just double check at the guild hall. It's a really nice app. The ward spell, non-critical damage and related effects of incoming attacks targeting the target of the spell are negated. It's a melee range and sorcery. So with this, I will just try to correct some mistakes I made earlier in the Heart of Obsidian campaign. For example, the redirect damage spell is an attack, as it is stated in the FAQs. I just read it the other day. So with this, I think I will also say that the ward is an assist and therefore no confrontation. That is now a little bit more clearer to me where the difference lies. But that being said, she will use the haste and recovery spell on the Academy Expeditioner. It has a strike value of 2, needing 14 or less. It's a 5 and a 15, that's enough. Because now I can choose to elect the target, so the Academy Expeditioner will regain 1 hit point. And with this, his wounds caused by this bushy attendant are closed. I just have to walk around the table to get the token back to its position. And staying here might be a bad idea. I will just double check to see how much reach the Arcane Shield spell actually has. The Arcane Shield spell has a range of 16, therefore the Pharaoh's Outrider is within range of the Task Mage Explorer, but he would need a line of sight to cast the spell, and since the Arc is currently at the front, I think this will be not possible, since I do not want him to turn around. Therefore, the Task Mage Explorer will once again activate, and she will run or walk actually into the position here, a little bit in cover, but just double checking a little bit more towards here to be able to see both of her teammates. Here, I would say with here, she's now able to draw a line past his base and up to half of the Pharaoh's Outrider. So, with the first action, or first phase of the Sand Kingdoms done, I will just prepare for the Empire of Soga's second turn, and I will catch up with you. For their second turn, the Empire of Soga has decided to go on the offense, therefore none of their warriors and remaining models decided to go into the warrior stance. As you can see here, I already measured some. So, from the Academy Expeditioner to the front of the base of the Pharaoh's Outrider, it's 6 inches. Here it is another for 10, and with this 16 inches. The Musha Blade Master will activate first. He will walk up to the die and has now an unobscured line of sight towards the Pharaoh's Outrider. Therefore, the Musha Blade Master will attack the Pharaoh's Outrider. The Task Mage Explorer can see the Musha Blade Master, and she will react by casting a ward spell at the Pharaoh's Outrider. And the Pharaoh's Outrider also will react by using a dodge action, just to reposition a little bit. So, beginning with the ward spell of the Task Mage Explorer, 14 or less, it's a 13. Therefore, the Pharaoh's Outrider gets a token. I will just use a mana counter, sorry, just threw it away. So, he has the enchantment ward. Now, the Musha Blade Master will his archery 2 to get the slowed quality on his bow, or when the Pharaoh's Outrider is hit, he gets the slow quality, which will be negated because of the ward spell. But before that, he needs, I think, 12, or is it actually 13? The accuracy is still 12, therefore needing 12 or less to hit. It's a 19, therefore the ward spell is still active, and I will just skip the dodge roll because he wasn't hit at all. And with this 2.5 inches, he's able to walk behind this cover and is now also protected, or at least obscured, from the Musha Blade Master. But by doing so, he's more or less open for this Bushi attendant, who will just walk a little bit to get a clear line of sight. Just checking for the 24 inches, but yeah, looking here, the Pharaoh's Outrider is absolutely within 24 inches for the short range, therefore no penalty. Will he react? Since he has the ward spell, he will not react towards it. Let me just double check what the ward spell says, if it's just one attack or all. The ward's non-critical damage and related effects of any incoming attack targeting the target of the spell are negated. So, with this being said, I will just recton. I will just pull this back. Therefore, that he has he hasn't activated, I will start with him. He will try to hit the Academy Expeditioner, who this time actually does not want to get into a confrontation. He wants to dodge. Even if he isn't successful with his dodge, he will just try to get into a better position. So, having a look at the agility score of the Academy Expeditioner, and the agility score is 10, as we can, let me just get it into focus. Come on. As we can see here, it's a 10. So, rolling the dodge, it's a 14, therefore he is unable to dodge successfully or avoid the hits potentially. Now, the Bushi needs a 12 or less. Actually, both hit. Power 13, armor 4, therefore 9 or less to wound. No damage. The armor saved the only potential wound. And with this, the Academy Expeditioner is allowed to move 2.5 inches. So he gets here a little bit behind the wall. So with this done, now this Bushi attendant will move a little bit up, and this time he will attack the Pharaoh's Outrider. It's a 1 and a 16. The Pharaoh's Outrider has decided to soak up the damage, so that's why I didn't say anything. The 1 would be normally a critical hit, which would, as I said, usually or normally pass through the ward, because the ward only protects against non-critical damages. But since the Pharaoh's Outrider also had casted onto himself the Arcane Shield spell, critical hits scored against this model do not ignore armor. Therefore, the critical hit still passes through the ward spell. Didn't expect that, it's only 5%. But the critical hit does not ignore his armor of 5. Therefore, power of 13, it's an 8 or less needed to wound him. And with a natural 20, he failed to do so. And I will just repeat that and try to get the ward spell off so that the Bushi attendant has a better chance. This time with a 9 and a 13, only the 9 hits, and the ward spell triggers because that is a non-critical hit, so the ward spell is off. With this, let me just check. He has a movement of 5, which is not enough to get into melee range. So this time the Musha Blade Master, actually no, the Bushi attendant will activate. Just let me correct the terrain I just threw over. So he will activate and he will move 2 inches, and now he will move 3 inches up. Now let me check who can see him. Looking at this edge, this is actually nice having a wider view. I think, yeah, I would say that the Academy Expeditioner can also see the Bushi Attendant, and the Task Mage also can see the Bushi Attendant, so both can react, as well as potentially the Pharaoh's Outrider, but he will save his activation for the Musha Blade Master. So he wants to attack the leader, even if it's a -4. She will activate by casting, let me just check if it's within 16 inches. I doubt it, but let's double check. This is 12 and another 4. No, outside of range, so she will cast Ward onto herself. And in regards of the Academy Expeditioner, he will not use the Fireball spell, but he will try to cast the Soul Crush spell with a stun and ignore armor property, and if wounded the target becomes panicked, but since this is the 1 wounded Musha Blade Master, this is irrelevant. But starting with the Ward spell at the Task Mage herself, natural 20, since it's her reactive role, she cannot use her Mage class. Now let me do the attack roll. Short bow -4, therefore he needs an 8 or less. 10 and 11. Without the cover he would have hit. And now here we will have the Soul Crush spell, 14 or less. It's a 9. Once more, 14 or less, because ignore armor. It's a 4. And with this Bushi Attendant, I always mix these two up, is incapacitated. It was a risky maneuver for a chance to knock out the Task Mage, but it is not over yet, because we still have the Bushi Attendant, who, let me check, with his bow, where are potentially 30 inches, because with archery 1 he can increase his short range to avoid a penalty by 6 inches. These are 2 rulers, these are 3 rulers. Just putting it back. And being here. So basically where he is still in range. He has a line of sight, and I think that he will straight up shoot at the Task Mage Explorer, and he does not have to use the archery 1 overdraw skill. He can use the impeding shot, I think it is called, to get the slow quality onto the Task Mage. So he will activate, and also the Pharaoh's Outrider, just to get into a better position, will use the dodge action. Let's just begin here. 2.5 inches, a little bit closer. Maybe we'll see a melee next turn. And now the Musha Blade Master, since he stayed idle, he gets +4 for his marksman class from the Kyutsu upgrade. -2 because there is definitely a tent in the way. So a total net of +2. He needs a 14 or less to hit the Task Mage. It's a 2. And now power is toughness +3, therefore it's a 16, so the Musha Blade Master needs a 16 or less at the Task Mage Explorer. So it's a natural 20. The Task Mage Explorer was still lucky and managed to avoid being incapacitated. So with this was the second turn of the Empire of Soga. Another model is incapacitated. So I will just prepare the Sand Kingdoms next turn, and I'll catch you up. Second turn for the Sand Kingdoms, In the strategic phase, the Pharaoh's Outrider decided to cast the Melting Touch from the Fire affinity onto himself to get the Ignore Armor and, more importantly, Burn 1 quality. So we will definitely see a combat right here, but before that I did some measuring. The Taskmage Explorer wants to activate first. She wants to move here outside of cover. And she will cast Ward onto the Pharaoh's Outrider. This will provide an reaction from the Musha Blade Master, who does have a clear line of sight. I didn't expect that. That was surprising. Didn't consider that. So he will activate. And since she was previously in short range, she's still in short range, he will use his bow to attack her, trying to give her the slow state. But first 12 or less. 3 is hitting, 16 or less. He actually wounded her. So with this, the Taskmage Explorer gets down. Luckily she has the first aid upgrade, so she can get back next turn. But before that, the Pharaoh's Outrider will activate, and let me see if he's in range of 6 inches in total. He isn't. Therefore, he will not activate right now. Let me think about it. I have to keep him up. Let's go here towards the Academy Expeditioner. The Academy Expeditioner will activate and he will move. Do I manage to still be able to stay in cover? Let me see. When he moves 3 inches, maybe up to here. Yeah, he's still in cover. And from this point, 6, 12, and from here, it's too short. It's too short, sadly. So I hope you believe me. So, without any options, he will just straight move up 5 inches, going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to here. Come on, come on, come on. Here he goes. And from this, I think here he's still in cover, so he will just use a run action to move another 5 inches forward. This will be a chance for the Bushy Attendant to react to one shot, because they are not in the defense stance. Therefore, 12 or less. It's a 13, it's above. Therefore, it's a miss. And now it could become quite interesting. He wants to cast Soul Crush onto the Bushy Attendant, who will activate by attacking back. Therefore, it's a confrontation. The Bushy Attendant, 12 or less. It's a 16, failed. Now the Academy Expeditioner, 14 or less. It's a 7 with the Ignore Armor property. It's a 19, so the Bushy Attendant managed to resist. And now, what are we doing here? Yeah. First of all, he will use a run action to get into 1 inch with the Musha Blade Master, who also has a sword. Therefore, where is the token? Here it is. Both of them will get the engaged state. And now there will be a confrontation where both attack with their swords. Starting with the Musha Blade Master, who has a defense value of 12, therefore 12 or less. It's a 17, he failed. The Pharaoh's Outrider has an offense of 14 or less. It's one hit with a 9 and a 16. Now, toughness is 13, therefore 13 or less. Armor is ignored because of the melting touch, not molten blade. It's a 4, therefore this would be a wound. The Berserk class of the Musha Blade Master triggers, therefore with a 13 or less the wound is ignored. It's a 2, the wound is ignored, therefore the burn property also does not activate. So, since the Task Mage is out of action, or incapacitated, sorry, this is the second turn of the Zen Kingdoms, and I will prepare the third turn for the Empire of Soga. With the Task Mage down, the Empire of Soga decides to try and steal the offense, and therefore none of their warriors goes into a defense stance. We will start with the ranged combatants. So here, the Bushi Attendant activates, as does the Academy Expeditioner. He will attack with a short bow. He will cast the Soul Crush spell to stun him, potentially. And starting with the Academy Expeditioner, setting the lower bar. It's a 9, it's successful. And now the Bushi Attendant needs to roll between 9 and 12. It's a 5 and a 17. With this, he loses the confrontation. The Academy Expeditioner wins it, needing a 14 or less. It's a natural 1. So, with this, a few things happened because it was the Soul Crush spell. Let me just double check. Yes, first of all, he is stunned. With stunned, I think, let me just check this rule. There isn't here stun. It's at the top, and it reads: a model that suffers a wound from this trait must perform a toughness roll. If failed, the model loses all activation points. So, a toughness roll. Bushi Attendant has a toughness, as we can see here, of 13 or less. It's a natural 1, so therefore he does not lose his activation point. He still loses a wound. And since this was the Soul Crush spell, if wounded, the target becomes panicked until caster's next end phase. Here it is. He is panicked. And what does the panic state reads? Elemental? No, these are not. Here we are with states. And where are we? Panicked. Right at the top. And a panic model must perform a model roll at the beginning of every activation or reaction. If failed when in its active role, it must perform an entire run movement towards the nearest open edge of the field. So there's a potential chance that the Bushi Attendant will run off the field. If the movement of the model in this state would end past the edge of the field, the model is removed from the play and counted as loss. Fails the roll in its reactive roll, can only dodge towards the edge or is idle. So it is very risky to activate him. But since the Bushi Attendant has a moral score of 16, there is only about a 20% chance to fail it. So, I think he will risk it. So, he will cast he will shoot again with his short bow. He once again uses the Soul Crush spell. Setting the bar with Soul Crush. It's a 14, he just manages to hit. Therefore, the Bushi Attendant is free to roll 12 or less with his accuracy. Before that, the 4 and the 19 will still count if he managed to roll a 16 or less. It's a 13, he is able. So, 19 and 4. The 4 wins him the confrontation. The armor of 4 of the Academy Expeditioner means that he needs a 9 or less to wound. It's a 19, 10 points too much. Therefore, no wound on the Academy Expeditioner. So, with this, we are getting into the melee. This time, the dice are reversed from the number. So, the Bushi Attendant is in the offense roll, getting 2 attacks, and the Pharaoh's Outrider is in the reactive roll, therefore getting only 1 attack. The Pharaoh's Outrider has a defense of 11. With a 17 he fails. So the Musha Blade Master rolls an 11 and a 17, therefore 1 hit. Since the Molten Touch is still on, or active, he has only an armor of 1. So the Musha Blade Master needs a 12 or less to wound. It's a 12, exactly enough to wound. And now we have another confrontation. And since he's wounded, but the Task Mage will get up next turn, he will still try to wound the Musha Blade Master and stay in the confrontation. So, Musha Blade Master, 18 and 6. The Pharaoh's Outrider, 15. He still loses the confrontation because of the 6. Another 12 or less for the Musha Blade Master. It's an 8. And with this, the Pharaoh's Outrider is incapacitated. And the engaged states are cancelled. So, the 15 wouldn't have also be unable to help him avoid the attacks if he would have dodged. So with this, the Empire of Soga manages to lose 1 wound and to incapacitate the Pharaoh's Outrider, who will, I think, get just back up. So, I will prepare the turn for the Sand Kingdoms and I'll let you join them. The third turn for the Sand Kingdoms. In the strategic phase, the Task Mage Explorer used her first aid kit to get back up and receive 2 activation points. And now the Academy Expeditioner will activate, which caused the reaction of the Bushi Attendant and a reaction of the Musha Blade Master. So the Bushi Attendant will attack, the Musha Blade Master will attack, and he will actually cast the Soul Crush spell onto the... Let's just get here to get a benefits of light cover, at least from the Musha Blade Master, and cast the the Soul Crush spell. But before that, the Bushi Attendant makes a moral check. It's a natural 1, great. And now he's able to attack. 12 or less. It's a 13, therefore he misses. Now this confrontation here. The Musha Blade Master will try to set the bar and use his archery 2 combat art. It's a 9, even with the penalty of -2, he's able to hit. He had needed a 10 or less. The Soul Crush spell, 14, below 14 and above 9. It's a 5, he's able to use his Sorcerer ability. And with an 11, he managed to beat the 9 and is still below his 14, so he wins this confrontation thanks to his Sorcery class. So ignoring the armor because of Soul Crush, therefore he needs a 14 less to wound. It's an 11. Since this turn the Berserker class was not used, it's a toughness check, 13 or less to ignore the wound. He managed to do so, so he is not wounded, which will trigger another round. He will activate again, Soul Crush. He will activate 2 and attack. And the Musha Blade Master, yeah, he will accept that the Task Mage will do her stuff. So he will also get into a confrontation with the Academy Expeditioner. Starting with the normal shooting, moral check. It's a 17. He failed his moral check, so the panic state actually was useful. Here we have 5.5 inches, so he has to run towards it. So 2.5, he runs up to here. Soul Crush still in effect. It's really nice. I was thinking about it, if it's still in effect, because it's a state. Let me see. If wounded, the target becomes panicked until caster's next end phase, not strategic phase. So he's still panicked because it's not his end phase right now. Now, the confrontation. The Musha Blade Master needing because of the 10 minus 2, and I will just have another look. It's accuracy of 12, therefore he needs a 10 or less. With an 8 he sets the bar. Now the academic expeditioner, above 8, below 14. It's a 14, exactly what he needed because of his intelligence of 14. So he wins the confrontation. Hits once again the Musha Blade Master, 14 or less to wound. Natural 1, the Berserker class was used. Since he has no activation points left, he will not get stunned. But since he was wounded, he also gets the panic state. But he has a moral score of 17. So with this, the Task Mage Explorer will activate. She will move 5 inches up to here to get an unobscured sight at the prone Pharaoh's Outrider, who has only the height of his base currently. And with this, she will cast her Hastened Recovery. Strike 2, 14 or less. 10 and 3, 2 success. Both hits. Therefore, the Pharaoh's Outrider gets 2 hit points back. But since he has no activation points, he is still prone. With the prone marker, here it is. Or crouched as it is called. So, he is still down, but back into the game. Now, the Task Mage Explorer still has an activation. She will just move behind the cover, actually behind this cover. And she also has an offense option. You won't believe it. She's not only a supporting piece, but she has a mediocre offense in Mana Burst. It's a strike 1, 16 inches reach spell with the stagger ability. First of all, 14 or less. With a 12, come on, get into focus. With a 12, she is able to hit. Armor of 2, therefore 12 or less to wound. It's a natural 20, and she confirms that she is a supporting piece. So, with this, now it's the end phase. Therefore, both panic states are cancelled now, and I will prepare the Empire of Soga's next turn. The 4th turn of the Empire of Soga will begin with the Bushi Attendant, who will just come around the corner with his first activation. He is definitely without the 10 inches, or is he? Now here he would be within 10 inches, so he will just move up into the open to be outside of the 10 inches, so that the Academy Expeditioner is unable to react, and he will shoot at the Academy Expeditioner. In the strategic phase, both of the Empire of Soga models decided to keep their active phase and do not go into a defense stance. So 12 or less to hit, a 6 and a 17, 1 hit. The armor of 4 means that he needs a 9 or less to wound. It's a 5. Therefore, the Academy Expeditioner gets 1 wound. So, with this, he once again activates and tries to get 2 wounds to kill the Task Mage. Actually, 1 wound would be better, just so that he can deliver Death Blow for additional victory points. With a 2 and a 9 both hit. Another 9 or less. 3 and 11. 1 is able to wound. Therefore, wait, is armor 4, yes, not armor 2. Therefore, the Academy Expeditioner gets incapacitated. So, with this, since the Pharaoh's Outrider is back, let me just check if he has a range when he's crouched. So therefore, crouch, here it is. While in the state, the model's speed and armor is halved and attacked during this movement. This model cannot make other models engage. That was what I wanted to see. Because now he will risk it. He will activate and run towards the Task Mage Explorer. He will cast the Soul Crush spell at the... No, he's incapacitated, he can't react at all. So, he will activate, run towards the Task Mage Explorer. The Task Mage Explorer will dodge, and the First Outrider will also dodge to get up. So, with his starting with his run activation, or at least, first of all, she will dodge 2.5 inches, getting here. These are 6, 7. These are, so she will dodge. The Ferrous Outrider will get up, and let me just double check once again for the dodge, for the crouch state. Cancel during the state may also be cancelled with a dodge. An actor staying voluntary during the model's movement also be cancelled with a dodge. Okay. It does not state, so therefore I assume that he only gets up. Since he already reacted with the dodge, he will just cause him to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and yeah, it was the reaction. I would say, since it's easier, that they will not be engaged. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here is the Musha Blade Master. Now he will use a move activate again. Use a move action to get into contact or within 1 inch of the Task Mage Explorer, and she will actually use a dodge action. Or will she? No, she will use the ward spell to defend herself. So within 1 inch, this time only the Task Mage will get the engaged state because she has only a dagger, and she will try the assist action by casting ward onto herself. The ward spell goes off within 11, 14 or less was needed, and he wants to try to incapacitate the Task Mage a second time. He needs 14 or less because of his offense spell. There's no critical hit. Therefore, because of the ward spell, non-critical damage and related effects of any incoming attack targeting the target of the spell are negated. So, 1 action to few. So, let me just see if he would be able. Yeah, he would also be able to react. So the wound comes with it. So he will also move with a dodge action 2.5 inches here. So with this, let me prepare the 4th action of the Empire of Soga, and I'll let you join as soon as I'm ready. So, in the strategic phase of the Sand Kingdoms, the Ferrous Outrider, to avoid an attack of the Bushi Attendant when he passes between these two tents, he will use his Artificer class to cast Hasten onto himself and move 5 inches in the strategic phase. And with this, he's able to get into melee with the Musha Blade Master. And from this, he will attack the Musha, who will react with an attack of himself or by himself. And since both of these are not in base-to-base contact, the Bushi Attendant does not risk any friendly fire. So I will just see if he is within 24 inches, 6, 12. Yeah, he definitely is. But the Ferrous Outrider gets light cover, therefore the Bushi attendant needs a 10 or less. With a 6 he actually hits the Pharaoh's Outrider, who has only an armor of 1, therefore 12 or less to wound. A 17, so he is not wounded. Now the confrontation. The Pharaoh's Outrider, 18 and 7. The Musha Blade Master with his defense, okay, it's a natural 20, his defense of 12 is not enough. So the 7 hits. Normally power of 13 minus an armor of 2, therefore 11 or less to wound. It's a 9. The Musha Blade Master uses his Berserker class to ignore the wound. It's a 10, the wound is ignored. So, with this, now the Pharaoh's Outrider once again will activate. The Bushi Attendant will also react. And does the Musha Blade Master activate also? He wants to save his activation point in case that he survives this. He's gambling right now to get a chance of an attack of opportunity against the Task Mage to hinder her to revive the Academy Expeditioner. So with this, starting with the Bushi Attendant. With a 15 he misses. Now the Pharaoh's Outrider, unhindered, to attack. 2 10s, both hit. Needing 11 or less. 19 and a 9. The second one is enough. The gamble did not pay off. So with this, the Bushi Attendant gets down. He is incapacitated. And I think this gamble could have, if the Taskmaster Explorer would have get a wound, this would have been game for the Empire of Soga, but I think with the Bushi Attendant down, the Taskmaster Explorer is free to move. She will move up to 5 inches, getting here. She will cast Haste and Recovery. 2 successes. With this, the Academy Expeditioner is healed for 2 hit points. He is crouched. And now the Task Mage will just move a little bit into cover, playing this game safe. I will get right into the next turn. So with the solo Bushi Attendant, trying to get at least something. What can he do? He does not see the Task Mage, which would be the most preferable target. Let me see if in case he runs, he can get here. With 10 inches, he can get up to here. Is there a difference between his short sword and his short bow? Actually, there isn't. Both have the toughness of 13, and both have a strike value of stamina. So with this, he could actually run further. Now, okay, it's not enough to get into cover. Yeah, he will activate. With his first activation, he will run towards here. This will be within actually range. In case he staying outside of his range, so with 5 inches he's here, another 5 inches gets him here, and he wants to stay outside of the 10 inches what he manages, so that the Academy Expeditioner is unable to activate. So with this, he will use his second activation to attack the Task Mage. the Task Mage Explorer tries to cast once again Ward onto herself. Let's see if the Bushy Attendant has a chance. With a 7, he needs critical hits, two strikes. The 10 would hit, but it's not enough to get through. So now it's the last turn of the Sand Kingdoms, I think. Let me just see. 1, 2, 3, yeah. All right, 4, 5, yeah. Now let's just turn the tokens around. Will the Sand Kingdoms be able to table the Empire of Soga? That's basically the question we are having here. And to support this, the Pharaoh's Outrider will cast once again haste onto himself. 3, 2, he will get up to the corner of this tent. And we will begin with the Academy Expeditioner, who just got revived, standing up, moving 5 inches here. He will attack with his Soul Crush spell, while the Bushy Attendant will react with an attack on his own. The Bushy Attendant is 12 or less, it's a 6. The Academy Expeditioner rolls an 11, he wins the confrontation. 14 or less to wound, it's an 11, and with this the Bushy Attendant gets down. And it's game for the Sand Kingdoms. The Empire of Soga did not manage to get a death blow, therefore they will not receive any victory points for that. Open Hostilities, it rewards 1 victory point for any enemy model which is incapacitated or dead for if it has a recruitment cost of 16 or less. So both Bushy Attendants and the Kitsune Spellmain, therefore there are 3 victory points. The Musha Blade Master are 23 points, therefore another 3 that are 6, plus 1 for the leader, which are 7. And then, since all 3 models are still alive, another 3 for Virtuous Commander, their scheme. And with this, they have 10 victory points. The Empire of Soga did not manage to keep the Academy Expeditioner, the Task Mage Explorer, or the Pharaoh's Outrider down. All 3 of the models were at one point in the game incapacitated, but no death blow, no incapacitation. Therefore, this will be a clear 10-0 for the Sand Kingdoms. Did I like this game? Yes, it was a lot of fun to play. Even when I'm a little bit biased towards the Sand Kingdoms, because I really like the aesthetics of these models and it's my favorite faction. The Empire of Soga did a really good fight. I thought after the Kitsune Spellmain was killed by the fireball at the start of the game, that's basically game. But the Empire of Soga clung to the chance and even had a chance. As I said, they really incapacitated all 3 of the enemies, and only the upgrade First Aid saved the Sand Kingdoms, because with this, the Task Mage got a second chance because she was only incapacitated and not dead. And otherwise, that would be game. It's nice to see that with 1 roll, this game can swing in either direction. As I said, when the Task Mage would have been killed, that would have been game for the Empire of Soga. But yeah, depends on whether you like it or not, since this is a dice game and therefore a game of luck. Yeah, the Empire of Soga did great. But in the end, it's a landslide victory for the Sand Kingdoms. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any suggestions or comments and thoughts about the rulings, because I just noticed since I read the recently released FAQs that I'm pretty sure made some mistakes, and I would learn from your comments and improve my gameplay. So therefore, I hope I'll see you next time.